After being diagnosed with mesothelioma and sharing the news with friends and family, there's a pretty good chance you've been told about the importance of a positive attitude and how you need to fight the disease. That staying optimistic, thinking positively, and maintaining hope can actually improve your prognosis. But is this true? Or is it just something people say to make themselves feel better? And if it's not true, does telling cancer patients they need to stay positive actually do more harm than good? Today, I want to give you the honest, evidence-based answer about whether attitude affects mesothelioma survival. I'm Terry Oppenheimer, and I've been writing about mesothelioma and asbestos for the website mesothelioma.net for over a decade. I'm not a physician. This is not medical advice. But understanding what actually influences outcomes versus what doesn't, it could help you focus your energy where it matters most. So let's start with what the research shows. Over the last several decades, numerous studies have looked at whether psychological factors like optimism, positive attitude, fighting spirit, or emotional well-being affect cancer survival. The overall conclusion from this body of research is that there's no strong, consistent evidence that having a positive attitude directly affects how long cancer patients survive. Some individual studies have found correlations between positive psychological factors and better outcomes, but other equally well-designed studies have found no relationship at all. When researchers look at all the evidence together through meta-analysis, which means combining data from multiple independent studies on the same topic to calculate a high-level estimate of effect, the effect of attitude on survival, if it exists at all, appears to be very small, not the major factor that popular culture often suggests. This doesn't mean that psychology is irrelevant to cancer outcomes. It means that the relationship is a lot more nuanced than the straightforward assertion that positive thinking cures cancer, or worse, that if you're not optimistic enough, you'll die faster. Now, before I go on with what actually does affect survival, I'm going to take a break here to ask you a quick favor. If you find these videos helpful, please hit the like and subscribe buttons below. It makes it easier for other people who need this information to find us. Also, if you have questions or there's a topic you'd like to see addressed in a future video, send me a note in the comment section. And make sure you watch until the end, because I'm going to give you valuable information on where to find resources that will make a real difference for you. So, the things that specifically affect survival, the biggest one is completely out of your control. It's the biology of your disease, your cell type, the stage at which you're diagnosed, and your genetic factors. Other elements include the treatment you receive, surgery, chemotherapy, or immunotherapy, your overall health and functional status, like your age, any comorbidities, and your nutrition. Where and by whom you're treated is very important. Specialized centers versus general hospitals, mesothelioma specialists versus general oncologists. These factors all have strong evidence supporting their direct impact on your survival. Now, you may be wondering whether I'm saying that attitude and psychology don't matter. They absolutely do. But their impact is much less evident in survival time than in quality of life. There's very strong evidence that psychological factors significantly affect how you experience your cancer journey, your ability to cope with your treatment, your engagement with your care, and your overall well-being during treatment. Patients with better mental health, lower depression and anxiety, stronger social support, and a sense of control and purpose report better quality of life, fewer symptoms, better treatment tolerance, fewer side effects, and greater satisfaction with their care. This is meaningful, even if it doesn't necessarily translate to longer survival. There's also evidence that psychological factors can indirectly affect outcomes through behavioral pathways. For example, patients who are deeply depressed may be less likely to attend their medical appointments consistently or less likely to report symptoms promptly, less compliant with medication regimens and instructions, and less likely to maintain adequate nutrition and activity. These behavioral factors can affect outcomes. Conversely, patients who maintain hope and engagement, they may be more likely to pursue appropriate treatment aggressively, participate in clinical trials, advocate for themselves when something seems wrong, and take care of their overall health. These behaviors can affect outcomes. So it's not that a positive attitude makes your immune system fight cancer better, leading to longer survival. It's more like psychological well-being leads to better engagement with care and self-care, and that provides potentially better outcomes, plus a definitively better quality of life during treatment. Now, let's talk about the harm that can come from overemphasizing positive thinking, because unfortunately, there can be harm. When cancer patients are told they must stay positive, that their attitude determines their outcome, or that negative emotions are dangerous, several problematic things can happen. First, it creates guilt and self-blame. If you believe your attitude affects your survival and then you feel sad, scared, or angry, which are completely normal responses to cancer, you might feel like you're failing or failing others, like you're making yourself sicker through your emotions. And this adds a psychological burden on top of the already crushing burden of mesothelioma. Second, it can stop you from going through the very necessary emotional processing. Grief, fear, and anger are normal human emotions in response to life-threatening illnesses. Going through these emotions is healthy. But if you believe you must always be positive, you might lead yourself to suppress these feelings rather than work through them. And that can lead to worse psychological outcomes in the long run. Third, it can isolate patients. If you feel pressure to always appear positive and optimistic, you might hesitate about sharing your real feelings with family and friends, and this gets in the way of authentic connection and support right when you need it most. Fourth, it can infer that patients are to blame for their outcomes. If someone believes that having a positive attitude leads to survival and then a patient dies, they're left with the message that the patient didn't fight hard enough or that they weren't positive enough. This is cruel and it's false. So, what's a healthy perspective? The bottom line is that it's okay to feel however you feel. Sadness, fear, anger, grief, these are all normal responses to cancer. They don't make you weak or mean that you're giving up. You don't have to perform optimism for others' benefit. Hope is important, but hope doesn't mean pretending everything will be fine or forcing yourself to feel positive when you don't. Hope can coexist with a realistic acknowledgement of your situation. You can hope for the best while still preparing for various outcomes. Engagement matters more than attitude. Staying engaged with your treatment, advocating for yourself, making informed decisions, and taking care of your health. These are the behaviors that matter for both outcomes and quality of life. You can do all of those while also feeling scared or sad. Meaning and purpose, those are protective. Finding meaning in your life despite cancer, whether through relationships, activities, creative expression, spiritual practice, or other things, helps with psychological well-being. That doesn't mean you have to find a silver lining or a growth opportunity in cancer if you don't see one. Social connection is crucial. Strong relationships and support systems improve quality of life and help with coping. Let people help you and share your true feelings with people you trust rather than putting energy into performing positivity if that's not how you feel. Taking care of your mental health is just as important as what you're doing for your physical health. If you're experiencing depression or severe anxiety, treat it with counseling or medication, and that will improve your quality of life and your ability to engage with your treatment. This isn't about maintaining a positive attitude for cancer. It's about treating a separate medical condition that commonly occurs alongside cancer. Professional counseling, support groups, and other mental health resources are helpful for many cancer patients, not because negative emotions are dangerous, but because processing difficult emotions with support leads to better outcomes than trying to pretend they aren't there or ignoring them. What about specific practices like meditation, mindfulness, or visualization? These can all help reduce anxiety, manage symptoms, improve quality of life, and provide a sense of control. If they help you feel better, they're worthwhile. But they're not cancer treatments, and you shouldn't feel pressured to do them if you don't want to. The truth is that your attitude is not going to determine how long you survive mesothelioma. The biology of your disease and the treatment you receive matter far more than your emotional state. You're not failing if you feel sad, scared, or angry, and having those emotions won't make your cancer worse. What does matter is engaging with appropriate treatment, taking care of your overall health, maintaining supportive relationships, and treating depression or anxiety if they develop. These things definitely improve your quality of life and could potentially have a positive impact on outcomes. You can do any or all of them while still feeling the full range of human emotions about the challenges of your situation. So, give yourself permission to feel whatever you feel. Seek support for processing those feelings. Focus your energy on the factors you can actually control, your treatment decisions, self-care, and relationships, rather than trying to control your emotions because someone has told you that your attitude will determine your survival. To review, can a positive attitude really impact mesothelioma survival? There's very little evidence that shows that attitude directly affects survival. But psychological well-being does affect quality of life, how well you tolerate your treatment, and how involved you are with your care. You don't have to force positivity or feel guilty about having normal emotions like fear and sadness. Focus on your treatment, self-care, and your relationships, and treat depression or anxiety if the need arises. Mental health support is available and important. You can visit mesothelioma.net for resources about coping with mesothelioma, or call 1-800-692-8608 or use the live chat feature on the website to speak directly to one of our compassionate patient advocates. As for me, remember, you can post your questions below, and I'll see you next time.